Hello, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to not destroy your Amazon account by self-managing it. My name is Iani, I'm a 7-figure e-commerce seller. I've sold on Amazon, eBay, TikTok Shop, and our own website. And now I have a full-service Amazon agency called eCommerceville, where we work with a little bit over 20 brands, doing over 20 million in sales yearly. And we manage millions in ad spend and ad sales a year. Now, let's get into the video. So today's video, I want to do something a bit different. I want to give some advice on how not to blow all your PPC spend and just destroy your Amazon account. Because if you have to self-manage and you don't have the budget for an agency, or you don't trust agency, or whatever that is, there are ways to do it, but it's a lot more difficult. And the reason is, for example, someone who has an agency or someone who had a brand for years, they have a level of experience that you wouldn't have. I'll give you a couple of rule of thumbs of how not to get very hurt, and especially with PPC, because that's where you can overspend a lot. Now, first thing we need to think about always is the listing and the quality of the listing. Is the listing optimized correctly? Is the main image good? Do you have the right bullet points with the right keywords? Same for the title, same for the description. Is all the copy for the listing there, and is it optimized from that sense? Because you want to make sure that the listing is optimized so you're showing up for all the relevant keywords organically. Now, of course, you have to push that with PPC, but you want to make sure that all the relevant keywords there are in your listing. Images are super important. Hero images is incredibly important. I'm going to link below some of the videos where I speak more about the main image and how to create a good listing, so on and so forth, just so you have all those details, because that's very paramount. Remember, listing and ads, they go hand in hand. You can have the best PPC strategy, but if your listing is not done well, you're fighting against yourself. So you need to make sure you have that. And of course, the product needs to be priced competitive. It needs to have good reviews, and it needs to have enough demand so people buy it. That's very important. How do you not hurt yourself when it comes to ads and self-managing? First thing you need to understand, ads budgets are important, but it's more important the bid. Example, I can put $1,000 daily ads budget, but if my bid is 20 cents, I'm not going to spend much. It's very difficult 20 cents to get a lot of clicks or a lot of impressions. Some categories you might get away with that, but most categories now on Amazon, the cost per click is much higher. So bid control is the most important when it comes to spending on Amazon. The lower the bid, the lower you're going to spend. Now, the caveat with there and the double-edged sword with that is that the lower the bid, the less impressions and clicks you're going to get. The art and the skill with a lot of PPC is not only knowing which keyword to use, but what bid produces the most results. And you never know exactly when you start. You just need to optimize it. You see that 30 cents is not doing very well, push to 35, then push it to 40. And key here is don't optimize every day. If you're self-managing it, don't change bids every day, because you're not giving enough time for Amazon to even gather data, which is super important. If you're putting 30 cents bid today, 40 cents bid tomorrow, 50 cents bid tomorrow, you're not really getting the data of what happens. Allow it a couple of days, allow it 2 to 3 days to see what happens. Very important here. I would always suggest to check your account and ads daily, but I wouldn't suggest to do changes daily. Because as we said, first, Amazon's reporting is usually 2 to 3 days behind. So the stats you see today will be different for tomorrow. So that's something to think about. Second, as I said, you need to give it time for ads actually to perform. And when you're self-managing, this is very important, understand keyword research. You need to understand what keywords you're fighting for. And I cannot stress this enough, bid control. Make sure you're spending what you can afford. That's why I always say, sometimes self-managing it is a lot more expensive than getting the right agency. And of course, have an agency. So it might be a conflict of interest there, but it is true. The amount of clients we've worked with that they self-manage and spend so much money and time, and then when they came with us, everything completely changed. It's so many. So if you're self-managing, really understand that. Now watch a couple of YouTube videos. You can watch my YouTube videos. You can watch other people's YouTube videos. There's a lot of PPC videos, but make sure you're not hurting yourself by having super high bids, because this is what happens when you're self-managing and you're not controlling bids. If you're putting super high bids and super high budgets, you can spend a couple of $100 like it's not in a couple of hours. Remember, Amazon is always pushing you to spend more. You need to make sure you're controlling that. You need to be a bit more vigilant when you're self-managing, because if you don't have the experience of managing ads, you won't know exactly what to do and how to do. If we have to break down, most important things is have the listing that is optimized so your conversion rate is not going to suffer, your click-through rate is not going to suffer. Price competitive, make sure you have enough reviews. That's very important, because if you have that, your PPC will perform better. Now after that, of course, make sure you're controlling your bids and you're optimizing your bids. This way you're not spending too much. So that's a super important part as well. Make sure you have the right PPC structure and campaign structure. For example, one product, one campaign. Don't put 20 products in one campaign. Amazon doesn't know how to distribute spend when it's so many products, and you won't know which products perform better. One product, one campaign. Make sure you're saying if it's an automatic campaign. Make sure if it's a manual, broad campaign, phrase, exact product targeting. Make sure you know that. And another thing, use the campaigns you understand. If you don't understand product targeting, how to use it, avoid it, because if you don't understand that you're going to overspend, you're not going to target the relevant things. And as I said, keep the campaigns clean and organized. One campaign, one product, and also limit 3 to 5 keywords. Relevant keywords, one campaign, one product, one type of targeting. So let's say 5 keywords for one product and a broad targeting manual campaign. That's what I like to do, because what I've seen is when you put a lot of keywords, Amazon doesn't know how to distribute the spend. For example, if you have 20 keywords, you might get a lot of spend on the first 5, but the other 10 won't get as much spend. So you never really know how well these campaigns are performing. So keep it nice and clean. 3 to 5 keywords. Now, if you have a lot more keywords you want to put, create a new campaign, create another exact campaign, create another phrase campaign. Make sure you know that. Another thing that is going to be a big friend when you're self-managing. Auto campaigns are very underrated. The only thing to keep in mind with automatic targeting campaigns is that Amazon can get close to what it's targeting. If you're selling a phone, they might start targeting a lot of things that are not phones, so you need to be very careful of that. But automatic targeting is going to be a big friend of yours because it's going to help you. And again, control bids. If you're not confident, start with lower bids and increase them step by step. I'd much rather for you to not get hurt significantly with ad spend than put a high bid, get really hurt, and not perform, especially when you're self-managing and you don't have a lot of experience. Another thing that can save you a lot of money when you're self-managing it is putting a daily cap, meaning put a cap on your budget. If you're comfortable with spending $50 a day, put that cap and don't spend more. And make sure when you're doing that, put on the settings 25%. Meaning that the most they can use the next day is 25% more, because Amazon will automatically set it up to 100%, meaning that you can spend a lot more. So 25%, and then make sure you have a daily budget cap. If you're not comfortable with spending more, at least you have a safe stop. But keep it clean, keep it nice, keep it simple. If you're self-managing it, you don't have enough experience, stick with the basics, keep it simple. Make sure you don't have too many campaigns to manage as well, because if done correctly, every product will have a lot more campaigns and a lot more testing. But if you're self-managing, you won't have the time and the experience to go through. So keep it simple. I would suggest at least 3 manual and at least 1 automatic. That's the minimum I would suggest. Ideally, if you have the experience, I would suggest more, but bare basics, not much experience, self-managing, do that so you're not overspending as well. And remember, bid control is important. Put the budget cap, control your spend, and control everything you can. Something that I would also recommend is ignore a lot of Amazon suggestions, because a lot of the suggestions Amazon gives you for ads is not correct. They just want you to push spend. I hope you like this video. A lot more to come. Stay tuned.